come and take a seat. As you come to sit, I invite you to allow your eyes to close, or you could drop your gaze down to the floor in front of you. And just allowing yourself a little bit of time to settle. Maybe this is the first time you're kind of sitting and focusing on yourself and your own needs and how you feel. And just coming to notice what you need. And so what I'd like to do today is we're going to focus on sensation in the body, and it doesn't have to be pain. Okay. I think we all have days where we have areas of our body that are painful. And sometimes it can be a little too mentally intense to focus on that. If it feels okay and that's where you want to go today, that's fine. But what I'd like you to do is just find an area of sensation, whether it's a pulse, a pressure, a tension, a tightness. And I want you to see if you can really begin to hone in on the sensation and where it is in the body. You know, is it very dense? Is it taking up a very specific area? Does it have very defined borders that seem to not change? Or are the borders kind of amorphous, right? Do they kind of move and change, maybe even as you're breathing? And part of what we forget when we're noticing pain in the body is we tend to forget how much of us is not in pain, right? Because pain can be so intense and so overwhelming and so pervasive that we forget about the parts of us that actually feel good. So if you haven't started already, you know, getting into your seat, finding the position you want to be in, and then, you know, for now, just choosing one area of your body you'd like to bring your focus to, you know, like is your knee a little sore, your shoulders a little tight, maybe your neck's a little funky today. So just find a spot. Like for me, I'm going to focus on my low back. And I want you to start to really get curious about what you feel and where it is. You know, is there a heat to what you're feeling, right? Is there a temperature you could give it? Does the area feel stiff, dense, hollow? Maybe there's no word to describe what you're feeling. We don't have words for every sensation. If you could give what you're feeling a color, right? Would there be a color you could associate with it? And then again, wherever you're noticing that sensation, how big an area is it encompassing? Is it the size of a walnut? Is it the size of your fist? Is it hard to say because it keeps changing? Like it seems like it gets a little bigger and then a little smaller. As you notice that sensation in your body, does it change with your breath? Is it always the same, or does your inhale or exhale change the shape or the sensation itself? And I'm going to ask you to remain really non-judgmental here. I want you to remain really open and just curious, like you're trying to get to know this sensation well. So the same way you might go outside and look at a flower and you notice the shape of each petal and the color variation and the color of the center and how these petals are drooping in this way and these are lifting, right? So can you find that level of detail in what you're noticing? And we're going to stay with this part of the practice for about 90 more seconds. So 90 seconds more of just really getting to know this sensation intimately. And before we begin to move on, what I would like you to notice is, has the sensation that you started with changed? Is it still the same size? Is it still the same intensity? Is it still the same location? And then with this same sense of open curiosity, can you begin to move outside of that location? What's right around it? What's above, what's below, what's in front and back, to the sides? And then in that way, can you continue to expand your awareness outward from that sensation? Continue working your way outward. And as you're working your way outward, maybe you're noticing other sensations. And maybe there's something else there to notice. Maybe it was less intense, so it didn't call your attention right away. See if you can keep expanding awareness until you find a sense of your whole body. And if that's too much right now, it's okay. You can stay in a smaller area, but just expanding into your body as much as you can. Can you feel your soles of your feet? Can you feel your fingers, your hands? Can you notice your eyelids? And then like you're zooming in with a microscope, can you find that original sensation you were noticing? And then like you're zooming out, can you notice everything else? And just as a mental exercise, can you go back and forth a few times? Like you've got a zoom lens and you're zooming in on that one location. And then you've got a macro lens and you're broadening and taking everything in all at the same time. And then can you begin to notice the surface of your skin? The borders that define, separate you from what is outside of you. And you may notice that the borders aren't as defined as we think they are. Sometimes we have a sensation of being outside of our skin, like our energy expands out beyond us. And then with that same sense of awareness and attention to detail, can you now notice your outer world? What do you hear? What do you sense, smell, feel? Even if your eyes are closed, what do you see? And then can you notice that there's space for your whole experience, for all of it? There's enough space for this whole moment. And then can you feel this breath, the one that you're taking right now? And then I invite you to bring your attention, your awareness back to any intention that you may have set at the beginning of today's practice. And perhaps you're reaffirming that intention. Perhaps you're setting a new one. And then in whatever way feels right, I invite you to bring a little bit of movement into your body. A little wiggle, a little shift, a little tense and release. Continuing to move until you're ready to just come back and feel your seat. Maybe hands are resting in the lap. Maybe your hands are resting on your heart. And I left a little time here at the end of our practice. I'm going to close, but I left a few moments so we can chat about this experience. Thank you so much for being here and joining me for this practice. The light in my heart bows to the light in each of yours. Peace.